Today's program is brought to you by OTCStockShark.com. For the latest and greatest OTC and Pink Sheets information, sign up for your account at OTCStockShark.com. Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano. In today's U.S. news, many states have used funds from the $863 billion U.S. economic stimulus plan to help give a rising number of poor families emergency cash assistance, the Government Accountability Office said last Thursday. From June 2008 to June 2009, the number of families receiving temporary assistance to needy families rose in 12 of the 21 states the GAO reviewed and dropped in 6 states. But the magnitude of those taking the direct cash grants varied widely, with Nevada experiencing a 22% increase in need and Texas seeing a 9% drop. The economic stimulus plan passed last year included the largest transfer of funds from the U.S. government to states in U.S. history, and the GAO found states used some of the money to help citizens living in the deepest poverty. As of October 2009, all 21 states in the GAO survey had applied to the plan's emergency contingency fund for help in making the cash payments. Showing the depth of distress caused by the recession that began at the end of 2007, the number of two-parent families receiving the aid increased in 17 states. The median increase was 27%, far more than for other types of families. The cash payments are part of the country's sweeping welfare reforms from the 1990s. Each month, eligible families receive grants that are capped, and many states will reduce or withhold those payments if adults do not meet certain work requirements. There is also a 60-month limit on how long a person may receive the cash over a lifetime. Some states have their own cash assistance programs. Since 1996, the number of families receiving assistance has dropped, but GAO said this was not simply because poverty had eased. It said a large number of families who were eligible for the grants opted out. GAO also said that the percentage of children living in poverty fell to 16% in 2000 from 21% in 1995, but the recession pushed that rate back up to 19%. Now over to Brandon with international news.
Thanks again, Angie. In today's international news, China responded sharply to U.S. criticism of its currency and human rights practices in the latest sign that relations between the two powers remain rough. A senior Chinese central banker responding to U.S. President Obama's remarks urging China to move towards a more market-based exchange rate for its currency, suggesting the president was trying to divert attention from America's own economic mismanagement. We don't agree with politicizing the exchange rate issue, People's Bank of China Vice Governor Su Ning said when asked about Mr. Obama's remarks last week on the sidelines of China's legislative meetings in Beijing. We also don't agree with a country taking its own problems and having another country solve them. Mr. Obama's remarks last week were relatively mild compared to the statements from some U.S. lawmakers and economists criticizing China for suppressing the value of the Chinese yuan. The critics say the practice makes China's exports artificially inexpensive. In a speech at the Export-Import Bank's annual conference, Mr. Obama argued that liberalizing China's exchange rate would help increase consumption in countries like China that have external surpluses and boost savings and exports in countries like the U.S. that have external deficits. As I've said before, China moving to a more market-oriented exchange rate would make an essential contribution to that global rebalancing effort, he said. China's currency has been effectively pegged to the dollar since China halted the gradual depreciation of the yuan in mid-2008. Last weekend, People's Bank of China governor suggested that the de-decado peg was a temporary measure, but also indicated that it may remain in place for some time to come. Mr. Su said liberalizing exchange rates doesn't necessarily resolve trade imbalances. We believe the yuan exchange rate issues will not help shrink or increase our trade surpluses and deficits in the United States or China. The U.S. and Chinese statements were consistent with their often stated positions, but the direct and forceful rebuttal to the U.S. president was unusual. The spat comes amid a broader tension in the U.S.-China relations over issues ranging from trade to internet censorship to China's refusal to back sanctions on Iran for its nuclear program. Meanwhile, in what has become an annual ritual, China's cabinet last week responded to a U.S. State Department report criticizing China's human rights recorded by a publishing in its own report alleging that human rights abuses in the U.S. China began issuing such reports in 2000 in response to the State Department's annual rights report, which has been published for the past 34 years. The year's State Department report, released last week, once again highlighted problems in China. Beijing's human rights record remained poor and worsened in some areas. The U.S. report said that using identical language to last year's report to describe the overall situation, the report cited incidents including several cultural and religious repressions, harassment of rights activists and lawyers, and controls on the internet, as well as free speech. China's report belittled Americans for posing as the world judge of human rights again, at a time when the world is suffering a serious human rights disaster caused by the U.S. subprime crisis and the global financial crisis. The U.S. government still ignores its own serious human rights problems, but revels in accusing other countries. It's a real pity, said the report, issued by China's State Council Information Office. As in previous years, it said the U.S. report is full of accusations against countries, including China, but its contents turn a blind eye to rampant human rights abuses in its own territory. And now to Angie with today's entertainment news.
These are the most powerful songs of all time. Songs of strength and majesty. Time Life proudly presents Classical Power. You'll get 5 CDs for a very special price. You'll hear more than 6 hours of timeless classics by the world's greatest composers. Call now to get Classical Power on 5 CDs for just $29.99. But wait, order in the next 10 minutes with your credit card, and we'll cut the price to just $14.99. That's right, you get 5 powerful CDs for the incredible price of $14.99. Then preview other beautiful classical CDs. Satisfaction guaranteed. This special collection is not sold in stores. So call now and get Time Life's Classical Power on 5 CDs for just $14.99.
Call 1-800-731-0511. Order Classical Power on 5 CDs for $14.99 plus shipping when you call in the next 10 minutes with your credit card, or order online at timelife.com/power.
Thank you, Brandon. In today's entertainment news, the general better start preparing for war because Larry Platt has been hit with a nasty lawsuit over Pants on the Ground. A music company called American King Music claims they funded Platt's recent recording session with rapper-producer Mims for the official full-length version of Pants on the Ground. But in the suit filed in Atlanta, American King claims Larry and his reps filed to take care of Platt's obligation. They failed to describe exactly what those obligations are. Now American King is suing over the music distribution agreement and expenses related to producing, writing, and recording of the single. Platt's manager Pinky said Larry never made a contract with American King, but the company believes they're entitled to 50% of the profits from sales of POTG on iTunes. On Sunday, Abby wrote on her blog that she crossed into the roaring 40s on Saturday. She said that the skies did not turn black, there was no roaring winds or rain. Abby said she is about 2 weeks away from Cape Horn and is very excited. Please stay tuned as more news on Abby's journey unfolds.
Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano.